Hello everyone. So I just wanted to do a quick video covering the Electoral College and kind of like my thoughts about that. Just wanted to focus on it. It was something that I touched upon in my previous video I uploaded, but just kind of want to go more in depth and kind of like update you on what's going on right now as of the current date. So here's the possible things that can happen, and of course, I mean the precedent for this is that they're just going to vote with the states. The electors 99% of the time have done this. So literally, if the electors switched, it would be the first time in history that we've seen something like this. We've seen faithless electors in the past, but it like really does not affect the vote at all. Or at least it hasn't. So we'll see what's going to happen. I think it's ridiculous. First of all, I want to point out that the electors are voting today, and it's not going to be counted until January 6th when Congress comes back into session. And like I was thinking how it just kind of like prolongs 2016 into 2017, and I mean we really just should be at a stage where we can be like, okay, cast your vote, and now we know the day of or the next day. I don't care. Like, why do we have to wait like this? It's just and I think I say that more specifically because this election is very volatile and it's been a very strange one historically. So I don't know how the system was set up to be this way, but specifically. But yeah, this is just ridiculous. But okay, I'll go through the possible scenarios. There's really only three that could happen. So the one that's most likely is Trump will become president. The electors will vote depending on what state they're in, how they're supposed to vote. And it'll just be basically the results that you see now, and maybe just a little bit of a difference here, or, give and take. Second is that the electors actually switch and actually vote for Hillary, which, again, I need to stress is not. There's no precedent for it in our history. This. If that were to happen, it would be the first time in our country's history. You need about like 25, something like that, electors to switch. And there's no real repercussions for them. Sometimes they have to pay a fine depending on what state they're in. I don't think you can serve jail time for switching. So yeah, but 99% of the time, yeah, they have voted with the states. So it's really probably not likely that'll happen. One other outcome that is kind of more likely than the former that I just mentioned is that each candidate won't get enough votes to win. You need 270 to win at least. So if neither Donald Trump or Hillary gets 270, then it'll go to the House of Representatives and they'll vote. And it's Republican right now, so I think it's very likely that Trump will win in that scenario. So basically, yeah, we're looking at a Trump presidency. I know, like, people, especially on the left, which is kind of a little bit disheartening in a way. Like they kind of like add these false hopes that aren't really generated from reality at all. They're just, I think it's just mainly wishful thinking, and I can understand. I mean, Trump is, I don't want him to be president either, and it's a very weird election. We don't really know until we actually live through it. But history tells us that they're going to vote for the states, so how the states voted. So yeah, this is the way it is. But okay, I wanted to give my argument about why the electors should go faithless. And one little caveat I want to say before I go into that is, this is the day that they're actually voting. So, I mean, yeah, but my argument is going to be useless to these people. And I'm not thinking of it that way because, the way our system is set up, no one can make a video, no one can, like, go and talk to these people, these electors, and say, no, I want you to vote like this way. That's not really the way it was set up. I mean, I know people would like to be like, oh, it's the popular vote, so they have to vote that way. But no, like that, the way it's set up is by state. You have number of electors, and in the Rust Belt states and the Midwest states, these states voted for Trump, and it all added up to be past the threshold, and now Trump is president. This has happened before, where you have a popular vote candidate that's different from the electoral winner. You see what I'm saying? So he won by the rules, just kind of like to sum that up. But yeah, I want to make the argument, despite the fact that, even if President Obama made a video and send it to the electors and say, no, I want you to vote for Hillary. You see, that's not the way our separation of powers are set up. This is a way of checks and balances, as it were. So I want to lay out the argument, but yes, I mean, I'm not like naive enough to think that this is going to have any impact. Just kind of like laying it out, at least from my perspective, from a progressive standpoint. So the first reason why I think they should vote for Hillary Clinton is the margin of victory in the popular vote. And yeah, I mean, yes, this is really historical. Like, we've never had a candidate who won the popular vote, got so many votes, and then lost. And it's like upwards of 2 million now, I think. And that's the margin of victory for Hillary in the popular vote, but she didn't win the electoral vote. Like I said, this happened before, like with Bush versus Gore. This was a difference of only 500,000 votes, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, this clearly shows that the country is divided, and I know that Trump was all upset with the Time cover, the President of the Divided States of America. Ooh, big, scary. And then he went on to say, basically, like, I didn't divide anyone. No, I'm not even president yet. No. Well, I mean, sure, you're not president yet. That's certainly true. And I don't know if we can necessarily blame just Trump for dividing America. But yeah, he's part of the process of what divided America. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he can escape blame entirely. So anyways, the second reason I would say they should vote for Hillary is the appointments clearly show a mix of corruption and incompetence. And I think it's certainly a kind of an interesting conversation to have. I mean, I've heard some different perspectives on this, but look, I don't think you can really justify these appointment choices, especially and just on this reason alone. Okay, so he talked all day long about draining the swamp. He wanted to get rid of, basically elite influences, these donors for one, people involved in Washington, insiders, and CEOs that basically you want to ship their jobs overseas. And Trump's just basically, okay, bring them on in. And I've heard it said, I don't know if it was TYT or where I heard it, but like Trump's kind of like building his own swamp right now. I think that's entirely accurate to say, because he's just basically collecting whoever in his mind he thinks he can control, or I don't know, he thinks maybe he can kind of like delegate his opinions on who should run things to other people. I mean, I think that's definitely true, because we've seen how there'll be stories from like right-wing outlets, and then immediately after he'll tweet, and we all know he tweets all the time. But these things actually do correlate with, like stories on Fox News, Fox and Friends. These these programs are on super early, and then he tweets them super early, like 6 in the morning. And it's so transparent. I really don't know how anyone could buy into this. But, okay, so the appointments specifically, I just want to give some detail. Rex Tillerson, I guess, is the official Secretary of State choice. I think that's kind of a little bit up for debate. I'm not exactly sure where that's going to end up, but that's kind of like the name that's sticking right now. CEO of ExxonMobil, and buddy with Putin. And I don't mean to red bait and all that, but just this guy is clearly in bed with government. And I think that's entirely antithetical to what Trump has been saying the whole time. Instead of pushing these people that have been a part of the process, just the capitalistic angle to it, anything. I mean, they know these people; they're insiders, and he's going to welcome them into his own cabinet. So It's certainly questionable. John Bolton is someone who was considered for Secretary of State, and then he might get a position somewhere in the Trump administration. And this guy is one of the architects of the war in Iraq. And Trump was very specific about talking about the war in Iraq and how much of a blunder it was. And he's choosing this guy who he wants to invade Iran now. I'm sure that's going to be really, really popular with the American people. They'll really love going to war with a country that, again, didn't attack us and is basically just doing nothing to us specifically. They're involved in certain conflicts. They're I guess arming Hezbollah from what I've read, and that's very complicated with what's going on in Syria. But yeah, like this country's not attacked us, and this guy he's been all for it, like since the Bush era, like just basically regime change in Iran. And actually, Trump said specifically regime change was bad. He's gone back and forth because, I mean, he said he was for going into Libya, and then now he flipped during the campaign. But yeah, I mean, you can't trust Trump at his word. But yeah, he's clearly picked this guy for a reason, I think. I don't know what that reason is, but it can't be good. The fact that you have someone from the Bush administration, someone who you're criticizing the entire campaign, now he's going to be basically around the intelligence community. And then to cover the incompetence part, I think this is honestly so embarrassing. Like if you were just any presidential candidate ever, anyone other than Trump, it would have been a big deal. But no, because it's Trump, we basically forgive him for it. So he just contradicts himself over and over and over again because he picked Rick Perry to run the Department of Energy, someone who Trump said he should get an IQ test because he questioned whether or not he's intelligent enough to, I don't know, be in government or something to that effect. He just basically alluded to the fact, yeah, he should definitely take an IQ test. And I mean, maybe he's justified to do so because Rick Perry on a debate stage, he wanted to cut these 3 government programs, and he couldn't name the third one. It was Department of Energy, and it just so happens that Trump is appointing him to Department of Energy. You know, I can't even believe the amount of hypocrisy going on in terms of just that example. That's like so many layers of crazy. And so what the strategy is, just to break that specific thing down, Trump is going to probably put people in power that just don't know what they're doing. And their entire philosophy on life is to cut down on government spending, basically, and just minimize the effects of these government programs that are supposed to regulate oil companies. We had a oil spill in the Susquehanna River, and gallons of oil just spilled into the river. And I mean, where were the regulators? Where was the EPA? And I mean, I'm a fan of Obama, but like he clearly has not been as vigilant as he should be on climate change. He clearly hasn't been, because I mean nothing really specific has come out that's actually made a tremendous impact. It just hasn't. And so yeah, now we're going to be faced with someone with not just Rick Perry, but all kinds of climate deniers that just deny science. So that's fun and great. Ben Carson to head public housing. I mean, what an adorable pick, really. It just makes no sense to me. I was like rationalizing it earlier today, just thinking like you have someone to come and fix your TV. Your TV's broken, and they come in and they tell you, "Oh, I'm actually really great at fixing cars." Well, why did I have you come over? You don't know what you're doing. Ben Carson is a neurosurgeon, okay? So he's smart at certain things. He's a neurosurgeon. Doesn't mean he's qualified to run a government agency. I'm sorry, okay? Like why does he have to be even considered? He just is like really kind of delusional person when it comes to his own personal beliefs. But I don't even want to get into that. But he's just not qualified, and so is Trump. He's not qualified either because he has no political experience. And I don't necessarily want to say like no one with zero political experience can't run for president necessarily, but I'm going to certainly put more scrutiny on you. And considering what I'm seeing, I'm not very happy. So yeah, those are just 4 examples of his appointment picks that I really do not like, and I'm not really satisfied with like any of them so far. It was basically just a question of which ones were more incendiary. So certain ones I was like, okay, the fast food CEO, like I'm probably not a fan. If I were to actually, dig into his beliefs, maybe I wouldn't be that upset, or maybe it would just not be like that bad, and I could be like, oh, okay, he could probably pick a worse person for this. But still, that's not even that great because you're getting in bed with big business. It's crony capitalism 101, basically. So, anyways, third reason and final reason that I have for why the electors should go faithless is that the Electoral College, when you actually look historically, was intended to keep people like Trump out of office. And this is why, because they didn't want something that was like the British government, which they were escaping back during the founding. They didn't want a king. And Trump, so far is basically like the closest thing. I know he's not president yet, so don't get your panties in a bunch, all you Trump supporters out there. Like, I'm just going off what he said so far and people he's chosen to run his cabinet, and we'll see how things go. Okay, I'm not gonna speculate as to what he's gonna do specifically, but I'm just saying, like, iceberg dead ahead. I'm saying it's probably not going to be good. But yes, he's this strong man. And what I mean by that is he's someone that he's not going to compromise. And that's like what authoritarianism is. He's someone who's just like, wrong, his way or the highway, basically, is what I'm saying. That's like the oversimplified version of it, but you get the gist. And it prevents us from having the democracy that we deserve and that we think that we have. We think this is all about a country where you just go and vote and that's the president. But no, that's not the way it is. This is the second time in my lifetime when a popular vote candidate didn't win the presidency. And I think we're waking up to the fact that we need to change our country. And on that point, we can't delegate this job to Washington. We have to all rise up as a grassroots movement. That's what Bernie Sanders has been saying from the beginning, that we have to change Washington from the outside. It's not about who I appoint where. It's not about who, I guess, we vote for president, really. It's not, actually. It's about people demanding change. And it's about being mobilized after Election Day. And so I think you can't emphasize that point enough. You have to actually mobilize in order to enact change. And I think a part of that is holding the progressives' feet to the fire. Not just progressives. You have to really hold all politicians accountable. But just specifically on liberals, that's the perspective I'm coming from. Someone like Bernie, after he dropped out of the race, he was going around saying how like the Democratic platform was the most progressive in our country's history, I guess, or at least in recent history. Now, comparing it to other platforms, I don't necessarily want to disagree with Bernie on it, because I'm sure there are some pretty progressive things about the platform that we had. Basically, if Hillary were to be president, we would be pursuing these policies. But there's still a lot to really scoff at. Really is. Sorry, my laptop's falling asleep. There's a lot to really scoff at because pro TPP, there was not enough room for a true dialogue about a two-state solution in Israel-Palestine. They backed off the $15 minimum wage. I mean, these are things that are so popular that people really want. They want these voices to be reckoned with, and it's not happening. And it's very sad to see that it's just so hard to get true change. People, I think, were a little bit naive when Obama came into office, and I would include myself in that too. I think we basically just trusted him too much to do the right thing. And I'm not trying to say Obama did no good things, but I think he really should have been more vocal about certain things. He should have been using his position of power to advocate for more progressive ideals. And look, you can talk all you want about how he's going to polarize people, he's going to drive Republicans away. Republicans were being driven away anyways. The Republicans didn't want to work with him, and he was the centrist president that he was. So why not, go the extra mile? They were basically just trying to ruin him from the start. And this has been documented. This is, fact. The Republicans just were not willing to work with him. They compromised on Obamacare, which is really a right-wing idea. So pushing politicians further left, holding their feet to the fire, I think these are really important ideals to have. And going forward, hopefully the Electoral College will make a decision that will, I guess, limit the amount of harm, because I actually worry about if they were to vote in a kind of controversial way that is not the norm, perhaps Trump supporters would be more angry and cause more violence. I mean, violence has been happening, and he won the election, so I worry about that. But hopefully, going forward, we'll see more peace and more of a coming together. And that's basically all I want to say. So, signing off. Thank you for watching.